Have you ever trusted someone only to realize they were playing a different game than you? You showed honesty. They showed strategy. You showed loyalty. They calculated advantage. And by the time you understood what was happening, the damage was already done. It hurts, not just because you lost, but because you never imagined someone would move like that. Here is the brutal truth most people avoid. Not everyone fights fair. Not everyone values integrity the way you do. And not everyone loses sleep over stepping on others to climb higher. The world is not divided between good and evil. It is divided between aware and unaware. Most people lose not because they are weak. They lose because they assume everyone thinks like they do. They believe that kindness will automatically be respected. They believe that hard work alone guarantees reward. They believe that if they play fair, others will too. That belief feels noble. But in the wrong environment, it becomes dangerous. Human psychology has a blind spot. It is called projection. We project our values onto others. If we are honest, we expect honesty. If we are loyal, we expect loyalty. If we would never betray, we assume others won't either. And that assumption is where manipulation begins. Dirty players study emotions. They look for guilt. They look for insecurity. They look for the need to be liked. They use pressure, silence, fake urgency, and false praise. They create confusion so you doubt your own instincts. They provoke reactions so you expose your weaknesses. And while you are reacting emotionally, they are observing strategically. That is the difference that good-hearted people often react. Strategic minds observe first. You get angry. You defend. You explain. You try to prove your innocence. You try to fix things. But every emotional reaction reveals information. It shows what triggers you. It shows what you fear. It shows where you are attached. When someone plays dirty, your emotional reaction is their advantage. This is not about becoming paranoid. It is about becoming aware. Kindness without strength becomes vulnerability. Trust without discernment becomes self-sabotage. Emotion without control becomes a weapon in someone else's hands. Power is not evil. Power is neutral. It depends on who holds it and how they use it. Ignorance, however, is always costly. There is a painful lesson many successful people learn late. The world does not reward innocence. It rewards awareness. It rewards those who understand motives. It rewards those who can read between the lines. Look closely at conflict in your life. The betrayal, the office politics, the friend who turned cold, the partner who manipulated emotions. In most cases, the signs are there. Small inconsistencies, subtle disrespect, hidden agendas. But you ignored them because you wanted to believe in the best version of that person. Hope is beautiful, but blind hope is dangerous. When someone plays dirty, they rely on one thing: your predictability. They expect you to react. They expect you to explode, complain, or collapse. They expect you to stay naive. They expect you to keep showing your cards while they hide theirs. But what happens the moment you stop reacting? What happens when you become calm instead of triggered? What happens when you observe instead of defend? The entire game changes. Awareness shifts power. Silence shifts power. Emotional control shifts power. This does not mean you stop being a good person. It means you stop being an easy target. There's a difference. You can have a strong heart and a sharp mind at the same time. You can be kind and strategic. You can be ethical and powerful. The problem is not that you are good. The problem is when you are good without boundaries. When they play dirty, you cannot afford to stay emotionally blind. You cannot afford to believe that intentions are always pure. You cannot afford to let anger control your decisions. The first step is acceptance. Accept that some people will manipulate. Accept that some will smile while calculating. Accept that fairness is not universal. Acceptance is not weakness. It is clarity, and clarity is the beginning of power. That if you stay until the end of this journey, you will not just learn how to protect yourself. You will understand how to think at a higher level. You will learn how to move in silence, how to read intentions, how to stay composed when others try to shake you. You will stop being a pawn in someone else's strategy and start seeing the entire board. Because when they play dirty, the worst thing you can do is panic. The smartest thing you can do is think differently. The moment you stop reacting, you start seeing. And when you start seeing, you realize something powerful. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. The most dangerous person is calm, watching, calculating, unmoved. Thinking like Machiavelli is not about becoming cruel. It is about becoming clear. It is about separating emotion from strategy. Most people mix the two. They let anger decide timing. They let pride decide words. They let fear decide action. And because of that, they become predictable. Predictable people are easy to control. Strategic thinkers do something different. They feel the emotion, but they do not obey it. When insulted, they pause. When betrayed, they observe. When challenged, they measure the situation before responding. That pause is power. Psychologically, the person who controls their reaction controls the frame. And the one who controls the frame controls the outcome. That if someone tries to provoke you and you explode, they win. If someone spreads rumors and you desperately defend yourself, they win. If someone pressures you and you rush your decision, they win. But if you remain calm, you force them into uncertainty. And uncertainty weakens manipulation. Strategic thinking begins with one rule: never reveal everything you feel. Your anger exposes your values. Your fear exposes your insecurity. Your desperation exposes your dependence. A disciplined mind keeps its cards close. This does not mean you become cold. It means you become measured. Another principle of strategic thinking is understanding motives. Every action has a motive behind it. People rarely act randomly. They act for status, security, control, attention, or advantage. If you understand what someone wants, you understand how they move. Instead of asking, "Why are they attacking me?" ask, "What are they trying to gain?" Instead of asking, "Why are they being nice?" ask, "What outcome benefits them?" This shift changes everything. You stop personalizing everything. You stop seeing every move as emotional. You begin seeing patterns. And once you see patterns, you stop being surprised. Strategic minds also master timing. Most people act too early or too late. They confront without preparation. They expose plans without protection. They attack without leverage. But patience builds leverage. When you stay silent, people reveal themselves. When you wait, they overplay their hand. When you do not rush to respond, you gather information. Information is power. There is also strength in unpredictability. If people cannot predict your reaction, they hesitate. If they cannot read your next move, they become cautious. Dirty players rely on reading you. The moment you become unreadable, their confidence drops. Another hard truth: reputation matters. You may not control every rumor, but you control your consistency. You control your discipline. You control the image you build through actions. Strategic thinkers protect their reputation carefully. They understand that perception shapes influence. If you're seen as unstable, you lose leverage. If you're seen as composed, people think twice before challenging you. Not every battle deserves your energy. This is another powerful lesson. Some conflicts are traps. They're designed to pull you into emotional chaos. When you engage in every fight, you exhaust yourself. When you choose your battles wisely, you conserve power. Walking away is not weakness. Sometimes it is the most strategic move. And above all, emotional discipline is non-negotiable. Anger feels strong, but it is fragile. Pride feels powerful, but it is reactive. Ego wants immediate victory. Strategy wants long-term dominance. The strongest person in any environment is not the loudest, not the most aggressive, not the most dramatic. It is the one who sees the board clearly. They see alliances forming. They see weaknesses hidden behind confidence. They see fear behind arrogance. They see ambition behind kindness. And because they see clearly, they move carefully. Thinking like Machiavelli means understanding that power is often quiet. It is in restraint. It is in patience. It is in calculated action. When others are emotional, you become composed. When others are impulsive, you become deliberate. When others play dirty openly, you respond intelligently. You do not match chaos with chaos. You respond with control. And control is the foundation of influence. The moment you stop needing to prove yourself, you become harder to manipulate. The moment you stop seeking validation, you become harder to pressure. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, you become difficult to defeat. Because now you are not just playing the game. You're studying it. You're not just moving pieces. You're understanding the strategy behind every move. And once you reach that level of awareness, something shifts inside you. You no longer fear dirty players. You outthink them. But here's the question that quietly rises in your mind. If you start thinking this way, will you lose yourself? Will you become cold, distant, heartless? This is where many people hesitate. They believe that strategy and goodness cannot exist together. They think awareness will corrupt their character. They fear that learning the rules of power means becoming like those who abuse it. That fear is understandable, but it is built on a false choice. You do not have to become cruel to become strong. Cruelty is uncontrolled power. Wisdom is controlled power. There is a difference. Thinking strategically does not mean you lie, manipulate, or harm without reason. It means you stop allowing others to do that to you. It means you build boundaries so strong that disrespect cannot pass through them. Boundaries are not walls. They're filters. When you lack boundaries, you call it kindness. But in reality, it is fear of confrontation. You tolerate behavior that drains you. You give chances without standards. You forgive without change. And slowly, resentment builds inside you. Strategic awareness changes that. You begin to understand that trust is not a gift you hand out freely. It is something earned over time. Loyalty is not declared. It is demonstrated. Respect is not requested. It is enforced through consistency. When you protect your energy, you protect your future. The strongest people are not those who dominate others. They are those who dominate themselves. They master impulses. They master ego. They master emotional storms. Revenge may feel powerful in the moment, but revenge ties you to the very people you claim to rise above. It keeps you reacting to their moves. Boundaries free you. Instead of asking, how do I hurt them back? You ask, how do I elevate myself beyond their reach? That is power. Selective trust becomes your shield. You observe patterns before giving access. You test character before giving opportunity. You listen more than you speak. You share slowly. You commit carefully. This is not paranoia. It is emotional intelligence. You realize that strength allows kindness to exist safely. When you are weak, kindness invites exploitation. When you are strong, kindness becomes a choice, not a survival strategy. There is something deeply powerful about being capable of strategy, yet choosing integrity. That choice is what separates wisdom from manipulation. You no longer need to prove your goodness. You no longer need to explain your boundaries. You no longer need to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. Silence becomes confidence. Distance becomes protection. Discipline becomes your identity. And here is the ultimate transformation. You stop seeing dirty players as enemies. You start seeing them as teachers. They taught you awareness. They taught you restraint. They taught you how the world truly works. Without them, you might have remained naive. With them, you evolved. This is the highest level of thinking. You're no longer emotional in every conflict. You're no longer surprised by hidden motives. You're no longer shattered by betrayal. You expect human complexity. And because you expect it, you are steady. Long-term victory is not loud. It is quiet growth. It is reputation built slowly. It is influence earned through consistency. It is peace maintained through discipline. While others burn bridges with impulsive actions, you build networks strategically. While others chase short-term wins through manipulation, you build long-term strength through patience. Time always exposes unstable foundations. If someone rises by playing dirty, they must constantly defend their position. They must constantly look over their shoulder. They must constantly maintain lies. But if you rise through strategy and integrity, your foundation is stable, and stability is real power. When they play dirty, you do not sink to their level. You do not allow bitterness to poison your character. You do not let anger define your decisions. You rise above it, intelligently. You think clearly. You move carefully. You trust selectively. You respond calmly. And most importantly, you never lose control of yourself because in the end, the greatest victory is not defeating others.